Welcome into the WalterPicks Fantasy Football Show. My name's Seth. We got Sam, the WalterPicks CEO. Today's all about the Cardinals. And before we jump into each position group, Sam, I just want to ask, what's the vibe you get in the Cardinals when you see that team? Are you generally thinking good for fantasy, not so good for fantasy?
Pumped to be in person today, Seth. Always a special time for our fully remote team. And the vibes are pretty good for me around this offense. I think there's 3 blue chip players on this team, if you want to count Kyler Murray in that group. But I'm definitely warming up to Marv and pretty bullish on McBride. So excited to dive into it and see if you share the optimism on some of these guys. Definitely curious how you feel about this backfield as well. But overall, I feel like this is a pretty exciting offense to get pieces of. And yeah, I'm curious to see how you feel about each of these guys.
Yeah, we'll go through each positional group. We're going to have some debates. It may change throughout the episode how we're feeling about the players. But we're going to start at the top. The field general, if you want to call him that, Kyler Murray. Last year, 17 points per game, quarterback 12. But I will say he could be maybe the most unstartable quarterback 12 of all time. You look at these numbers. He had 4 games over 25 points. And then 7 games under 16 points, meaning he was very difficult to put in your starting lineup. But I know a lot of people are depending on him this year after those elite quarterbacks are gone. So are you drafting him?
Yeah, I'm fine with where he goes in drafts. But if I'm going late QB, like I'm usually going a little bit later than this. I don't hate where he's going because he does have the rushing potential. He's QB6 in rushing yards per game last year. And like really the big difference for Kyler, what we need from him in fantasy this year is the touchdowns. Yeah. And it's going to be the same thing when we talk about Trey McBride as well. But yeah, his touchdown rate, it was 3.4% last year. There's QB 32 in touchdown rate. There's only 32 teams. So, not great there for Kyler Murray. I do think we're projecting him to be a little bit better than that heading into this season. We've seen him be better than that in the touchdown column in the past. So I am willing to take him as a rushing QB. He's going right now as QB 8 or 9, depending on the platform that you're drafting him on. We got him ranked as QB 7, but he's just like a little bit more of a floor play, I think, than a true league winning ceiling. If he hits the touchdowns though, like he could be top 5 quarterback in fantasy
He's
football.
won me a league before. I think it was like 2022, 2023. I drafted Kyler Murray in like the 6th, 7th round, and I just carried that all the way through to a fantasy championship. So he has had the elite seasons. What was that? 2021. Yeah. 22.6 points per game, quarterback 4. So
5.2% touchdown rate. That's all we need from him. And that's obviously a big ask. He has been declining every single year in fantasy point per game rank finish. He was QB, what was that, 4?
Yeah, quarterback 4.
In 2021, QB 4. In 2022, QB 7. In 2023, QB 10, and last year was QB 12. So will he reverse the trend or continue it? I think he'll probably reverse the trend.
At least a little bit.
Yeah, at least a little bit. Year 2, Marvin Harrison Jr. definitely should not hurt at all. And I mean, Trey McBride's just got to score some touchdowns, man. I think that's going to be said multiple times already in this episode. But I don't hate where he's going, but like in most drafts, this is around the range where there's still some league winning potential receivers and running backs on the board. And I can just push it 2-3 more rounds and just get Justin Fields or Drake May,
Fields, Brock
who you
Purdy.
can tell similar stories about, even Dak, who you can tell a good story about. So I don't find myself reaching for him very often, but I definitely don't dislike him either. And we are projecting him a bit ahead of his cost in the WalterPicks and rankings too.
Yeah, and for me, it's more like you said, you can just get some quarterbacks later. And for me, I feel like I just have that, like maybe it's a talent, maybe it's a hope for the talent to find those good high upside running backs, wide receivers. And he's in a range where they're still viable, where in a couple rounds later, you start to get to the guys that are real lottery tickets. Yeah. But you can draft a decent quarterback in that range, like a Brock Purdy, like you said, Justin Herbert, potentially someone that could easily be top 12, and you've got the upside from those other positions. So if he falls a little bit, though, for me, I think it's worth a shot if I've already feel like I've locked in that upside.
Yeah, for sure. And he definitely is at least in the range of the list of reasons to not reach for a quarterback. Yeah. It's another guy who at least has a rushing potential. There was a quote from him early in this offseason that he wanted to run more.
Yeah, he wants to run more.
Which is what you want to see in fantasy football. Drake May just had the opposite quote recently that he's trying to run less.
Yeah,
and
the Patriot way.
Stay in the pocket more. And in fantasy football, like that's exactly what you want to do with Kyler. And a lot of people were concerned about that last year because he was coming off the ACL.
Mm-hmm.
Will he run as much?
He says he's back.
Yeah,
he says he's feeling good.
I mean, he was top 6 last year in rushing yards per game. He could easily be top 5 again. So yeah, there's definitely a good case to make for Kyler, especially if he slides.
Yeah, I think, but the person's taking the touchdowns. It's James Conner in the running back group. James Conner last season, continually an amazing deal in fantasy football. 15.9 points per game. I mean, you're talking, if you're a first round pick, if Ashton Genty went for 15.9 points per game, we'd say not bad, not a bad season from Ashton Genty. And that's what James Conner is doing much later. We got James Conner on WalterPicks, at ADP 43, RB 18. You get him a little bit cheaper on Sleeper, pick 52, RB 20. Underdog, which has 3 wide receivers, definitely values that a little bit more. He's 59, RB 19 still. So he's in that range. I think really a strong deal, especially if he can continue to get that red zone work. I don't see him under major threat from Trey Benson. We'll touch on him a little bit as well. But his receiving floor, actually maybe the most surprising. He's almost like a David Montgomery. One of the times where I feel like comparing a player to David Montgomery is somewhat accurate, actually.
Yeah.
But 3 catches at least weeks 9 through 16. So that receiving floor was there last year, giving him that almost 16 points per game. I mean, there's not a lot of running backs in the zone, so there's going to be a high competition for him. But do you think he's a person that you're targeting here?
Yeah, I feel like he's the Tyler Lockett of running backs, and I'd say that I agree. Every year he's just been a value. He's in a workhorse role basically every single season. I do worry that this might be the drop off of Tyler Lockett though, that we saw last season. At some point, I do think something's got to give a bit here with James Conner. They did spend a round 2 pick on Trey Benson last year. Yeah. There has been steady praise that they want him to get more involved. He's 30 years old now, which is about that time to start to get pretty nervous.
But I will say he's missed so much time in his career that 30 years old for James Conner, his workload may not be as severe as another 30-year-old.
Last year was the most durable season he ever had. He only missed week 18.
It's not bad.
So we can still say he's missed at least one game in every season, though it's not really true.
But not for fantasy.
Yeah.
Not for fantasy last year. He saved it after the championship.
Yeah, only the sickos with the week 18 championships.
Don't do that.
But yeah, I do think Trey Benson will be more involved here. And the age cliff, I think, is pretty scary as well. And then you look at some of the running backs getting drafted around him. ESPN, I think, is particularly egregious. Like I don't think it is wise to take James Conner anywhere near his ESPN ADP. He's going ahead of Amarian Hampton, Breece Hall, DeAndre Swift, Caleb Johnson. I guess Travion Henderson. I'm curious, like James Conner versus DeAndre Swift. Who would you go with there?
I'm going with James Conner still. I like the consistency, the upside. I mean, DeAndre Swift, 12.6 points per game last year. James Conner, 15.9. So DeAndre Swift, I think he will improve. I am targeting him for sure, but he'd have to improve quite a bit. And James Conner can get a little worse before they even cross each other.
All right, here's 2 good ones. I agree with you for sure. I think James Conner over Swift makes sense. Just more of a touchdown ceiling for Conner than sure. Swift. Swift, you're really just banking on some PPR,
some passing volume.
Roll with the Bears. RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, James Conner. All these guys are typically available in a similar range of drafts. James Conner's ADP, I think, is ahead of both guys.
Yes, I believe
on basically every single platform. Are you taking James Conner or both those guys or one of them? Like, how would you think through that trio of running backs?
Yeah, it's more about what you can get for your team. If you need that consistent running back, that person that's going to tried and true, you put him in the starting lineup, you can count on that 12, 13 points because you've already got the upside. I'm going with James Conner, but I've already secured my base. I like the consistency and the upside of the guys I've already drafted. That's where I think going for someone like Travion Henderson could be a huge upside. I'm drafting him as much as I can get. He's one of my preferred players this year. And the receiving upside, the Patriots upside, that team is completely turned over a new leaf. And I think they're going to be really solid. And they spent that high capital. So I think the upside there, especially with receiving, I know James Conner, we just talked about him having some good stuff.
Yeah.
But the rookies, the youth, the explosiveness that we may see from those other players, RJ Harvey as well, who he's 24. He's on a rookie contract. They have to use him.
Yeah.
That's where I like to go with those guys for the potential upside to even pass that 16 points per game that Connor's giving.
Yeah, for me, I'm swinging for the fences with every single pick, no matter how my draft starts. Okay. Every single draft pick. This is why I'm taking McCaffrey at 7. Yeah. I'm not scared. I'm not scared to do it. And I'm definitely taking RJ Harvey and Henderson over Conner. And they're going half a round to a full round after him in a lot of drafts. So yeah, I'm just not going to have much James Conner.
No, probably not, yeah.
To me, Harvey and Henderson, they just have a target share potential. James Conner doesn't have. He has a steady floor of targets. David Montgomery but Harvey and Henderson, like they could be top 3 in target share. If there's a story you could tell of being 15% plus target share. I think we're projecting Henderson at 15%.
Yeah.
We were just talking on the Patriots episode, Avery and I mean, James White hit a 22% target share the last season with Josh McDaniels. That would have been number 1 in the NFL last season. So yeah, I would rather take the running backs that could be in that McCaffrey target share type range, and I think have a similar touchdown potential ceiling. Obviously, a little bit riskier for sure. But yeah, I'm like did not that in on James Conner because of that. Like he's a somewhat safe pick, but like how much different is Conner and Benson to Dobbins and Harvey? Like if Benson really is going to get a bigger role, you're getting potentially a committee back in a situation that he was not going to be a huge receiving role either.
Yeah, I was going to mention that with Trey Benson as well, because this is where as the episode goes on, as we debate the players, I'm starting to feel a little bit more out on James Conner, because Trey Benson, one of our notes here is that he was 4.6 yards per carry. When he gets the opportunity, he's pretty good. I mean, he was really solid. Maybe he's getting some of those lesser valuable opportunities, some of those maybe 3rd and longs where, yes, you're probably going to get a little bit more yardage if you run it there and give Conner a little bit early rest. But overall, with the opportunities he got, very solid. And we've seen it across the NFL. Teams love the 2 running backs. I think it makes sense with the Cardinals offense as well. They probably will try to run a little bit higher pace. If Kyler's running, Conner's running, Benson's running, the offense can be a little bit more stable.
Yep.
So that could make Conner, that could be the 30-year-old. Hey, we're going to give you a little bit less.
Right.
You're still going to be super efficient, super high. He's going to get the red zone touches. But for the price tag there, he's not a David Montgomery. I compared the two, but you look at the offenses, David Montgomery is going to probably have a little bit more opportunity.
Right.
Which makes Conner kind of a scary pick, honestly, with little ceiling.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't hate Benson as like an upside handcuff.
Yeah.
My biggest fear with Benson is can he have a big receiving role? He was going off the field as a rookie for Amari DiMercato. I mean, like he was not playing pass downs really at all last year, which is definitely like if that's going to continue, limits his ceiling a lot. Like he will need a James Conner entry and a bunch of touchdowns to really hit in that scenario. He was a somewhat capable receiving back in college. He was a 2nd-round pick for a reason. And you mentioned the 4.6 yards per carry. I mean, he was pretty efficient when he was given his small amount of opportunities. He didn't have a game over 33% of the snaps last year. Almost all of his games under 20%. Like he barely played. DiMercato was playing more in a lot of scenarios, which I don't think is a great sign. But it has been all optimism this whole offseason. I'm willing to like bet on that draft capital in year 2. If we don't see it this year, he's going to be pretty toast. But the cost is so cheap that I do think there's at least a ceiling if the James Conner age cliff hits. Yeah, like Benson should be the biggest benefactor, of that. So yeah, I don't hate Benson as a dart throw handcuff upside pick that like maybe we'll have standalone value if the coaching speak is not all just hype.
We'll have to see where that goes. I mean, he's a late round pick, but the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, Trey McBride, almost a wide receiver for this team. I like to call him the wide receiver 1. At least he was last year.
Yep.
But for Marvin Harrison Jr., I'd say nothing but disappointing last year. 11.2 points per game. One of the worst things that could possibly happen in fantasy football is a player has an amazing week early in the season, and then you want to keep starting them week after week after week. And that's exactly what we got from Marvin Harrison Jr. Great against man coverage. Not so great against zone coverage, and teams play a lot of zone to make sure that they don't have to put their guys in that bad matchup. He was wide receiver 43, and this year you got to draft him at wide receiver 17, wide receiver 14 on Underdog. We've got him at wide receiver 16 on the WalterPicks app. I'm probably a little bit behind that, honestly, just based on wide receiver 43 last year, the amount of improvement that would have to happen for Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'll say this as well. His efficiency was terrible. 51%. That was 163rd for his catch rate. 163rd. I mean, there's an accuracy problem with Kyler Murray. That's probably a reason why Trey McBride gets so many effective targets. Is it's a lot easier to throw it there. And the zone coverage, maybe not Kyler Murray's strength, but it's just not. He has to improve a lot. Do you think he can improve that much?
Yeah, we were just talking about this on the Jets episode. I'm curious before I give my take. Garrett Wilson or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Easily Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, so Avery agrees with you. I disagree.
Okay.
Partially because of just my ceiling mentality. Like to me, the ceiling for Marv is a little bit higher than Garrett Wilson if he can take a big step in year 2, like a better passing quarterback, obviously, that he's attached to.
Yeah.
And like just a little bit better of an offensive environment where teams can't just lock in on Marvin Harrison Jr. like they're going to be able to do with Garrett Wilson. Like, I think Garrett Wilson might, we just did this episode, but he might break the all-time record in target share.
Yeah, that's why I want him for my team.
Marvin Harrison Jr. might still have more targets than him because the Jets will run
they will run a lot.
Yeah. And I feel like you look at the finish, wide receiver 43 is getting drafted at wide receiver 17. It definitely is a bit scary. And there's the floor for sure. Like the floor is absolutely safer with Garrett.
It's wide receiver 43 for Marvin Harrison Jr. Not getting any worse.
Yeah. But at the same time, like the expectations were just so high for him as a rookie. He was almost guaranteed to fall short of them. He was going to get picked at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round, like consistently last year. So the price has gone down, but he's going into year 2 when we often see the leap happen. And after Trey McBride, like he's locked into a 25% plus target share. Yeah. He did have a 12.3% touchdown rate last year too. Like if that catch rate is a little bit higher, right? Like he gets to around a 50 to 60% catch rate, he's going to beat Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
If he can keep being the touchdown scorer on this team. Like he actually produced as a touchdown scorer as a rookie. The volume, I think, is a pretty safe bet. And the ceiling is, I think, pretty high with attached to Kyler Murray. So yeah, I'm willing to take the risk, especially there's drafts, and I've done too many drafts at this point of draft season. This is the best time of year.
Yeah, it is the best time of year.
But Marvin Harrison Jr., in some drafts, you can find yourself in rooms that everyone's out. Like no one's telling themselves the ceiling story that I'm telling right now. They're remembering the zeros that you had in your lineup in a couple games with Marv. The painful zeros. There's nothing more painful than the zero from a first 4-round pick in fantasy. But you can get him sometimes in round 4, round 5 of drafts. And that range of drafts, I'm more than happy to click on him. In round 3, like I think it's pretty reasonable to take him over Garrett Wilson. His ADP on ESPN is 7 picks after Garrett Wilson. We have him just a little bit better, just ahead of Garrett Wilson right now. But if you did the comparison in the app, and part of the reason I love using the app during my drafts, because I do chase the ceiling. That's just my mentality in life and in fantasy. And Marvin Harrison Jr. does have a higher ceiling. He does. Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I think he does for sure with the touchdowns.
Right.
Definitely with Justin Fields on the Jets, potentially, hopefully. I mean, hopefully he's healthy going into the season.
He's good.
But if he's not, if there was any issues, are the Jets scoring that many touchdowns? Probably not. If there could be plenty of weeks where the Jets don't even score, the Cardinals are going to be scoring a lot of points.
Yeah. So I'm willing to bet on the ceiling here for Marv. I think there is a ceiling for Marvin Harrison Jr. and it is kind of getting factored into his cost. Unfortunately, I was hoping he would go a little bit later than he is, but I'm in on Marv over Garrett Wilson. I think that one's definitely a tough one. How about Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Mike Evans? Where would you lean?
Oh man, I really like Mike Evans because I'm big. I think the Bucs are good. I mean, Chris Godwin dealing with an injury. I think Mike Evans has safe Emeka Egbuka. He's not threatening Evans in any way. Oh man, I think that, like you said, going for the ceiling. That's been my biggest fantasy mistake in the past. Is I want to, as a fantasy football expert, but I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss any of my picks. But when you play it to never miss, you get to the playoffs with I make the playoffs, but my team is just decent. And there's other players in the league who they maybe took a little bit more risk in the draft, but they're the team that's scoring the 150 points a week, and they're a gauntlet to get to the championship. My team just can't hold up. So that's where I say if Marvin Harrison Jr., I mean, the touchdown rate, he's younger, second-year leap. They're going to be working this entire offseason to find ways to get him the ball. They can't waste this rookie contract. So I think I'd go Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I would go Marv over Mike Evans too. I think it's a slightly easier choice than the Garrett Wilson one for me, but it's a similar dynamic where I think Evans is much safer. I mean, what is he going on 8, 9, 10 seasons in a row with
1,000 yards?
Yeah, I mean,
you can break the all-time record.
You can just bank on it every single year. But that's not necessarily going to win you fantasy leagues, especially in an 18-week season.
Yeah. It did 2 years ago when he was 2 years younger and he scored 45 points or something like that week 17.
Yeah.
But this year is not it's not 2 years ago.
Right.
And week 18 is where Mike Evans may get those extra passes forced to him to hit that 1,000 yards like they did last year, not week 17 when you need it in the fantasy football championship.
Yeah. So I think I'm in on Marv at his cost, especially in the drafts where he slips a little bit past that wide receiver 20 range. You can get him as your second or third receiver in that range, depending how you start your draft. There's not too much of consequence behind him on this team. Michael Wilson's wide receiver 2. I take him a tiny bit in best ball stats.
I do as well.
Round 16, 17. Kind of a wind sprint guy, though. Like he played almost every single snap last season and just really didn't do all that much. He's capable of a couple spike weeks, I think.
Yeah.
for best ball. Zay Jones is on this team. He scored under a point per game last year. Greg Dortch is still on this team. He probably will operate from the slot. This is one of the few teams. They changed nothing this offseason. It's the exact same squad. They drafted almost entirely defense.
Smart move. Smart move for them.
Yeah, this offseason they drafted almost entirely defense. Like they really have no new players on the offensive side of the ball of consequence or worth noting, like at all. So yeah, it's going to be Trey McBride again this year, and I definitely am very curious to talk to you about him and where he's going in drafts. Right now, he was the tight end 1 in target share last season. In the draft guide I mentioned it doesn't get prettier than this. Number 1 in targets per game. Number 1 in target share.
Elite.
Number 2 in air yards per game. Number 1 in air yard share. And he was 4th in targets per route run rate too. All of those just shining bright green in the WalterPicks app. Game logs. I mean, you just don't find volume like this at tight end. You just don't. He scored 1 touchdown last year. He did run one in as well, but his touchdown rate was, astronomically low. He's never really scored touchdowns in his career. Even if you go back to his college days, like wasn't scoring a lot of touchdowns then. But touchdowns are one of these things that are just such high variance. If the volume is there, I'm always a believer that the touchdowns can, and you probably should expect them to come, especially from a projection standpoint. So I'm pretty excited about him, and especially where he's going. I feel like he's getting pushed down drafts because of Bowers. Bowers, in my opinion, is going later than he probably should be.
He is. He's even dropping. I looked on Sleeper today, and he had dropped 2 picks to like 14, 15, 16 range. And it certainly sets kind of a marker where Bowers is the top draft. And then McBride, everyone just like, it's a feeling, should be going a little bit after.
Right.
You pointed it out right at the start. You look at the app and it's green. Some of the best possible metrics you can get as a tight end.
Yeah. And like I was saying, I want to take swings in drafts, and I'm all aboard the punt tight end train this year.
Same.
Depending on where, the top 3 tight ends go. But you can build some monster teams if you draft well and you snag McBride or Bowers in round 2. I got McBride in round 3 in the most recent high stakes league I was in. I think I had the 7th pick. I went McCaffrey, London, and then McBride in round 3, and then snagged a couple of the rookie running backs to tether out the running back room. Like if you can get league winners after round 3 and you have Bowers and McBride, like your team's going to be almost impossible to beat.
You have an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
When you get to the playoffs, there's a good chance, and it's been this way the last couple of seasons. You might be facing Josh Allen.
Right.
You might be facing Brock Bowers. You might be facing Trey McBride, George Kittle, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. Those teams have the upside every given week, a positional advantage that people are scared. Don't be scared. That's like my biggest advice this year is do not be scared to take swings on positional advantage locked in, because there will be, can almost guarantee, one of these late round tight ends is going to hit. That person might be in the championship as well.
Right.
But there's so many to choose from. Which one is it going to be where for a fact you're getting 15 points per game? But the only concern I have is you love Marvin Harrison Jr. Trey McBride doesn't need touchdowns. But if he does take some of those targets and he goes from, number 1 target share, he drops 2 or 3 targets a game. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
What happens when Trey McBride drops 2 or 3 targets a game?
Yeah. So right now we are projecting Trey McBride at a 26% target share, which is down from last season. He was at 29%.
Okay.
So we're projecting him down.
That's like 1 less.
3%. And I think we have Marvin Harrison just a couple % higher than he was last year. And still, McBride projects as the tight end 2 in PPR leagues. PPR especially, I think, is the place to target
for sure
McBride because of the touchdown thing, and we've never really seen him have a good touchdown season. But the thing with McBride that I can't get past is you look at last season where he somehow only scored 1 touchdown. Like most of the season, he didn't have a single receiving touchdown. He had that 1 sort of flukely rushing touchdown late in the season as well. He had 3 games under 11 PPR points last year.
That's it.
The floor that you're getting with McBride with no touchdowns,
right?
It's just you don't find it at tight end. It's almost impossible to find. And if the touchdowns hit, like you're going to get a top 12 wide receiver in your tight end slot with Trey McBride with averaging. He could hit 18 points per game if he just starts scoring some touchdowns.
Yeah, and not only are you getting a top 12 wide receiver in your tight end spot, you're getting him in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So you're getting a positional advantage that other people will not be able to match, and you're getting like an insane amount of just raw points as well. And you're getting like, if you put a wide receiver tag on Trey McBride, there's a chance he could be worth a 2nd round pick as well. and it's probably worth even more
potentially
for tight end because you just get the one, you're locked in for the rest of your draft.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Cardinals, they did draft a bunch of defensive players. Their defense might suck again.
Still.
They were one of the worst defenses in the league. There could be some shootout potential here for sure. So yeah, I do like McBride for that reason. The last benefit of going early tight end, and I'm fine with Bowers in round 2. I'm fine with McBride in round 2 as well, but round 3 definitely like that a lot more. You then don't have to worry about tight end the rest of your draft, really the rest of the season. Knock on wood, injuries work out, but you don't need to waste 2 roster slots on a tight end. And I love so many of the rookie running backs late in drafts with their ceiling. It just opens up another roster slot for you. That late tight end has the downside of you probably taking.
You have to grab multiple. I sometimes grab 3. I know that may be a little bit unheard of. But I feel like one of them will hit, so I want that opportunity, and I'm hoping that by that point, my wide receivers and running backs are set. They have to be at that point, otherwise my team's just gonna be bad.
Right. Yeah. The last thing I want to note for this team, quick. I don't think we've talked about defense at all on any of these teams episodes for fantasy, but the Cardinals, they're dead last in almost every single drafting platform ranking wise. They played the Saints week 1.
Oh yeah. Lock that in.
They're going to be a bad defense, I think, but in drafts, if I like the Pats defense a lot. I think there was one other defense that I liked to target as well. Yeah, the Seahawks after the first game, they have a pretty good schedule. I like the Patriots opening part of the season and their potential defense, but yeah, you could just get the team playing Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler in week 1. Definitely in play and notable in the last round of drafts for sure.
Yeah, it's a good pickup strategy. Focus on the week 1.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sounds like we're both in on McBride.
Yeah.
You're 100%. A little bit more hesitant. Maybe I convinced you a little bit.
You did. I definitely more in on Marv. And I just have to ask Michael Wilson.
Yeah.
Is there any, normally handcuff wide receivers are not a thing, but if there was a Marvin Harrison Jr. injury, I mean, Trey McBride would be absolutely nuclear.
Yep.
But Michael Wilson, I think they do talk him up on a regular basis. Every year there's an article about how he's looking professional. He's looking strong. Is there an opportunity there for someone, maybe if you draft Marvin Harrison Jr., almost handcuff him, or maybe you just grab him late in case of injury, not really expect any weekly value. Do you see any value to that strategy?
No, I definitely would not do that. And this is part of the reason that I like getting my 3rd or 4th receiver by round 6 or 7, and then just hammering upside running backs the whole rest of the way, because the dynamic of injuries for backups is not the same at receiver as it is for running back. Maybe Michael Wilson goes from 14, 15% target share to 20 or 21, but he's just not going to replace what Marvin Harrison was or anywhere close. It's going to be a spread the ball around even more type of situation. So yeah, I don't think I would advise that. I do kind of like him in best ball, especially if you have Kyler.
I do draft him in best ball
because he ran a route on almost 90% of the passing plays last year. He's out there every single play, and we saw multiple spike weeks from him. Just he's going to be impossible to predict when those are. So in season long, I have no interest in Michael Wilson whatsoever. And I would much rather take Trey Benson. I'd much rather just take ambiguous rookies, Taj Brooks.
I can see that.
Kyle Manungai, who I know you have
Kyle
some love for it. I'm not even into, but there's a better chance for someone like that to win leagues, I think, than Michael Wilson, even if Marvin Harrison Jr. got hurt. And if Marv or McBride, though, they go down, suddenly you are kind of looking at a Jets-like situation where teams can just going to be able to key in on one.
You just win. You just win your league.
Yeah.
If there's an injury there, that is some upside, just like with the Lions running backs. If there's an injury, of course, we hope that does not happen, and we're rooting for both those guys to be successful as well. But if there is, you just may win your league. With the extra volume.
The other, I mentioned it briefly, but McBride in half PPR and non-PPR, I'm definitely a lot less excited about.
No, not a big draft for me.
Yeah, we actually have Kittle as tight end 2 in half PPR.
I agree, 100%.
In our projections, and that's not how any of the ADPs have it. So I would definitely prefer Kittle in half and non-PPR. Kittle is, unlike Bowers and McBride, Kittle is the only one that's shown a long history of being an elite touchdown scorer.
Yeah,
every season,
monster.
Every season he's been 10% touchdown rate or better in almost every season. Something we've never seen from Bowers or McBride.
They're technicians. They're not not yak monsters like George Kittle.
Yeah, so I do think that in the non-PPR formats, definitely a little bit different for me with McBride, but I'm almost entirely playing PPR. Definitely the way to go. Yeah,
same. I'm a big PPR, not a standard enjoyer for sure.
Well, that does it for our Arizona Cardinals episode. Definitely had a lot of fun talking Cardinals with you.
Yeah, great to be in person as well.
100%. Always special to be in person. Hopefully we can do more and more of this as time goes on. And if you are enjoying these team by team breakdowns, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back with the next episode coming shortly.